Hey guys, what's going on? I took a little time earlier this morning to go over the trying to get this action smoothed out on the C39-V2. Not that it was necessarily bad from the factory, but on other milled rifles that I've had in the past, I noticed that it was just, a good bit louder, notchier, and stuff like that. Which, I mean, of course, after you shoot it for put a couple thousand rounds through it, I'm sure it's gonna polish the majority of that out. But this is not my tank. I'm trying to somewhat keep good care of this one. So some upgrades, obviously, all Magpul furniture, vertical grip. I did leave the stock pistol grip out. Actually, I do like it quite a bit. Same muzzle brake, primary arms, 3X. This scope is awesome. It has an etched 7.62-39 ACSS reticle. Really kick-ass scope right here. It's built like a tank. Old AKOU and Robsky and them, they really like them a lot, and that's where I kind of got on to them, and definitely get you one. It's 3X, it's perfect, 300 yards, ting, 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 no problem. One of the obvious things that I did, though, was I did polish my bolt carrier, and I also polished the actual hammer itself. I'm going to go ahead and take it down real quick just to show y'all. First thing that I noticed was a definite decrease in noise in the action of the rifle. No question about it. Weapon is clear. Also, the most recent upgrade, other than this Texas Weapons System Dogleg Gen 3, which is also kick-ass. One of my favorite things about it is the quick takedown pin. You can pop it right on and off. If you're really trying to do a full field strip or whatever, this is obviously your best. You saw how easy it is to take the optic on and off, and then it's just as easy to take the whole cover on and off. Another 5 seconds to take off versus a normal cover. And actually, believe it or not, to put it back on, it's actually easier. I'll show you what I mean. So you just put the pin back on right there, and then right here, it just pops back down. It uses the wedge shape of the new button that comes with it to keep tension on the back of it. It's actually easier to put on than the other cover because you don't have to line it up in the front or whatever. So taking it off, obviously it pivots. It pivots up like this, and there's that little pin. No tools or nothing. Just pop it right out. It's awesome. I really like this cover. After shooting it a couple, probably about 300 rounds or so, the casings are flying out, and they started to just kind of file down on the edge right there. No big deal. I saw a couple sparks within the first probably magazine or so. I did see a few sparks, and I was like, and I was like, I wonder if that's what it is. And sure enough, that's what it was. So if you get this and you notice that, just take you a file and just very gently, just probably this first inch or so right there, and come along the bottom right here. Just file it, give it a little more room to eject the rounds out. Other than that, no big deal. So yeah, anyway. Honorable mention. The Alg Recoil Spring. This thing's nice. It is about 3/4 of an inch longer than the factory spring, and the material is a little bit different. It said chrome silica steel, whatever that means. I'm assuming the factory spring is stainless or something. Not really sure, but it's got, as you can see right there, right in the middle where the two guides meet, it's got those dead coils like a helix or whatever, and it's not nearly as what do you want to call it? Like the spring itself is actually straighter. It doesn't get quite as all bent out of shape, you know, quote unquote. But I really like it. You can definitely feel the difference in power on the return. You know, I can't really feel it, you know, charging the handle back, but going forward, it's definitely got more power, which could help, you know, on those, you know, if you got a big drum magazine or a 40 rounder or something where it takes a little more, you know, force going forward or whatever. Sometimes, you know how those rounds kind of get stuck on the drums or whatever. That could be a potential plus for that. But also, I noticed, and I'll show you what I mean here. The sound, the reduction of sound. One of the reviews that I read, which is actually the only review on AK Operators Union's site for this spring, because it's a relatively new spring, it said that he said his mind might be playing tricks on him, but he swore that his action got smoother, and not only that, but he noticed a reduction in sound just from charging, and I will demonstrate. I definitely notice a difference in sound. It doesn't sound nearly as scratchy. I definitely think it sounds and feels a lot better than the factory spring. $12. In worst case scenario, you got yourself a backup spring, but I think it's a pretty nice upgrade. And I did polish. You can see it in there. I did polish the hammer and the bottom of the actual carrier, and tell you what, makes a pretty big difference overall in the feel. Way smoother. I mean, I'm pleased with everything. I wouldn't change anything else on this gun. I really do like it. I'm probably gonna go with they have a fighter brake that's a 14-to-1 left-hand thread on AK Operators Union. They're doing a pretty good little promotion on them. They like them. Supposed to be a little bit better recoil reduction, and doesn't have quite as much of a side blast as the old Chevron right here. So, man, other than that, I mean, I'm pleased. This is a C39-V2, and I haven't ran into any issues whatsoever with this rifle. I don't have any complaints about them. The only thing that I would say is those little shepherd hooks, you know, that are down in here on the side that hold tension from the safety going in between the pins and whatnot. I would like to see those replaced with those you know, those plates or whatever that have the hole in them and the little notch cut in them to just fit around the pin, and hell of a lot easier to deal with those than those little shepherd hooks. But I mean, as far as the trigger or the hammer itself, the trigger is really nice. I like the trigger. I polished where the hammer seats back down into the disconnector on both sides, and hell, I mean, it seemed to me like just doing that, it probably cut a pound off of the pull, and the break is a lot more crisp than it was before. But other than that, definitely, I really do like this Magpul stock, the MOE. I have a cheek riser for it. It's I think it's a 3/4 of an inch cheek riser for when I'm using the optic. Definitely helps you get a little bit better, you know, picture or whatever. But speaking of the optic, I'll show you the inside of it. Let's see. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Oh yeah, there we go. Hold on, let me get a better grip on it. You can see that the reticle is etched into it, and you can actually turn it on. That's pretty bright. That's the brightest setting. That's about half power right there. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. It's pretty nice. It's graduated out to it's got a windage, it's got elevation, bullet drop compensator. This is a for the money. For the money, this thing's nice. And the mount, it comes with the little spacer for an ACOG if you have the side mount on like the stamp receiver rifles. But you could take that off, take the spacer out, and it comes with shorter bolts, and you can put the shorter bolts back in on here to lower the mount to go directly onto your rail if you have a top cover like I do. That's the ticket for me. Because if you have the side mount like on the right here, which the milled guns don't have it, but if you have that, it gets in the way of trying to field strip the rifle from what I found, because you have something that's sitting directly over the cover, and I'm not a real big fan of that. I mean, but granted, if you have to have an optic and that's your route, then hey, why not? But I didn't like the idea of having it so far forward up here, like to do a rail on the gas cover or whatever. That didn't seem too appeasing to me, so I opted for this. So I'm pleased with it. Overall, I really do like the entire setup. Magpul, great all around stuff. I mean, there's better stuff out there, but I mean, for the price, Magpul's kind of hard to beat. I do like this. Fits my fingers perfect. I did kind of file down the safety. The safety was kind of hard to move at first. Now it's perfect. No complaints. The bolt carrier, I left the bolt itself alone because it had some pretty good polishing in the areas that it needs. So I left the bolt itself alone, but the carrier I did polish all the way from the very beginning of the piston all the way to the back, and especially underneath where it slides over the hammer. That was probably one of the best things that I did in terms of just making it a better feel, and it quieted it down so much. On older, way back, these rifles are old, but and I don't have them anymore. Kill myself. But one of my favorite things about them was just how smooth they were. But I mean, granted, they were a lot older and had many more rounds through them, so obviously that has something to do with it. But doing this made it feel like this gun has 5,000 rounds shot through it when it doesn't even have 1,000 shot through it yet. So thank you all for watching. If you have any questions on any of the setup of this, oh, and by the way, they have the peep sight, because you do have to remove your leaf sight from here, which is where the cover actually attaches to, in this little deal right here. You gotta knock the spring out and take the tab for your sights and stuff like that off, and that's where it actually hinges from. So doing this, if you don't do an optic and you don't get their peep sight, you won't have a rear sight. That's maybe one downfall, but I mean, having the sight so much further back, all the way at the end of the rail versus right here, your sight picture, even if you're not running an optic, your sight picture is so much better because of the radius between the two. You're adding probably not quite a foot, but probably 9 or 10 inches more sight radius, and you can see a hell of a lot better out to 100 yards with just open sights. This is what I pulled off the other day. These were some, these wildflowers or whatever, but once I figured it out, that's not a bad group for open sights at 100 yards. First time using it, so anyway, thanks Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Any questions on the setup, on the Texas weapon systems, primary arms, bolt polishing, trigger polishing. This is the Alg Recoil Spring, Magpul, everything else furniture-wise. So, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a shout, comment, whatever. Thanks.